Welcome to Twisted Truths, where betrayal meets brutal payback, and where the most unexpected twists expose what people are really capable of. This story isn't just shocking, it's personal. My name is Bruce Weller. I'm 62 years old, and last month I was fired from the company I helped build with my own two hands. Not laid off. Not politely retired. Fired. And the words that ended my career came from a boy young enough to be my grandson. We need fresh energy. Not tired old men stuck in the past, he said, with the smugness only money and nepotism could buy. That boy was Ryan Kessler. 27 years old. MBA from some Ivy League school his uncle probably paid for. Wore sneakers that cost more than my monthly mortgage used to. Called himself Executive Vice President of Modernization, or some nonsense like that. He was also the nephew of Daniel Kessler, CEO and founder of Kellbridge Manufacturing, the company I gave my life to. 29 years. That's how long I gave them. Started as a shift lead. Moved up to plant operations manager. Spent weekends fixing floor plans, redoing workflows, negotiating vendor contracts when no one else wanted to stay late. And when the 2008 recession hit, and Kellbridge was laying people off by the dozens, I was the one who found a way to keep production moving with half the staff. I didn't do it for accolades. I did it because I believed in the work. Because the job became part of who I was. So when Ryan walked into my office that morning, two security guards behind him, holding a cardboard box like it was some kind of joke, something inside me cracked. Time to pass the torch, Bruce, he said, like I was being put out to pasture. You've had a good run. I should have said something. Maybe I should have punched him, or cursed him out, or made a scene. But I didn't. I just stood there, blinking at the manila envelope he tossed on my desk. Inside, my termination letter, a severance agreement, and a line about how my role had become redundant in the face of strategic restructuring. Redundant. Like a broken tool. I packed my things in silence, my daughter's framed photo from her wedding, a coffee mug my granddaughter painted in preschool, the plaque the company gave me in 2015 for excellence in operations. What a joke. As I walked past Ryan's glass office, I heard him laughing on the phone. Old man finally got the message. Dead weight's gone. We're moving fast now. Dead weight. That's what I had become in his eyes. That night, I sat alone in my garage. My wife, Grace, was in the kitchen making dinner, humming to herself like she always did when trying not to cry. I stared at my toolbox, the manuals I had brought home over the years, the photos of factory floor layouts pinned to the corkboard above my workbench. This wasn't just about me. Something bigger was happening. Something I hadn't seen coming. I didn't sleep much that week. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see Ryan's smirk. Hear that phrase again, tired old men. On Thursday, I got a call from Donnie Jacobs. He'd been our safety officer for almost 2 decades. 61 years old, walked with a slight limp from an old accident on the line. His voice cracked as soon as he spoke. They let me go, Bruce. Said they're combining safety with HR, said I was obsolete. Obsolete. That was the word they were using now. The next day, I heard from Rita Collins, 57, accounting lead. Terminated. Same line, position eliminated. Then Marty, one of our oldest shift supervisors, gone. Just like that. I started writing names down. Ages. Years of service. Reasons for termination. A pattern was forming, and it made my stomach turn. By the end of the week, 7 longtime employees, each over 55, had been let go. Quietly. Without warning. They thought we'd all go quietly. That we'd just collect our checks and disappear. But grief has a way of fermenting into something else. Something sharper. Something with teeth. Grace found me in the garage again that Saturday night, my list in front of me, my eyes hollow. "Bruce," she said gently. "You don't have to fight this." But she didn't understand. I did have to fight it. Not for the job. For the dignity they tried to strip from all of us. It started with an email. Or rather, a forwarded one. Sunday afternoon, I got a message from Clara, an old friend in HR. She had resigned 2 weeks earlier, right before the firings began. Said the new culture made her sick. Attached was a file she had saved. It was a spreadsheet. Titled, Q2 Optimization Strategy, Confidential. 17 names listed. Ages. Salaries. Departments. Years of service. Every single one of them over 55. At the bottom, in a note labeled Action Items, were 4 chilling words. Prioritize for phase out. And beside it? Ryan Kessler's initials. That was it. That was the moment the weight in my chest turned into something else. Fire. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just stared at that file like it was a lit fuse. This wasn't about performance. It was a purge. They were trying to cleanse the company of old blood. Not because we were failing. But because they saw age as weakness. And that made it war. The next morning, I called an old friend, Reggie Knox, a labor attorney in Chicago. We met years ago during a union dispute. He always said if I ever needed help, I should call. He listened as I laid it all out, Ryan's comments, the pattern of terminations, the spreadsheet. I've seen cases like this, Reggie said. But not with this kind of paper trail. That spreadsheet is dynamite, Bruce. What do I need to do? I asked. You need more people. You need corroboration. Testimony. The more plaintiffs, the stronger the case. By the end of the week, I had reached out to every name on that list. Some were angry. Some were afraid. A few had just wanted to forget it happened. But 8 of them said yes. 8 people willing to speak up. Willing to fight. We met every Tuesday at Rosie's Cafe, in the back corner where no one paid attention. I watched the resolve grow in each of them. Rita brought emails. Donnie had notes from his exit interview. Marty had copies of his final performance reviews, flawless, yet terminated anyway. By the 3rd meeting, Reggie flew in from Chicago. He sat with us, took statements, gathered evidence. And then he said 6 words that made the room go still. We're filing a class action suit. We filed the lawsuit on a crisp Wednesday morning in late March. Title, Bruce Weller et al. Versus Kellbridge Manufacturing Incorporated. Claim, systematic age discrimination in violation of the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, ADEA. Within 6 hours, it was on the evening news. I was sitting in my kitchen with Grace when the story broke. Longtime employees allege mass targeting of older workers at Kellbridge, the anchorwoman read. The plaintiffs claim the company engaged in unlawful terminations to make room for younger, cheaper staff. Grace looked at me. You sure you're ready for this? I've been ready since the day they called me dead weight. The phone started ringing almost immediately. Some were friends. Some were former co-workers. And some were strangers, people I'd never met from other companies who had been through the same thing. We weren't alone. By Friday, Ryan had released a statement to the press. While we take these allegations seriously, Kellbridge is committed to evolving with the times. Our restructuring efforts are intended to position the company for long-term growth and innovation. I could practically hear his smirk behind those words. But what Ryan didn't realize was that Reggie had already anticipated every move. He subpoenaed internal communications, digital records, and personnel memos. And then came the moment that turned our case from strong to bulletproof. Clara, the same HR woman who gave me the spreadsheet, agreed to testify. She brought emails. Handwritten notes. Even audio recordings. One in particular made Reggie's eyes go wide. It was a conversation between Clara and Ryan from 2 months prior. Ryan's voice, casual but venomous. "We need to be strategic. No one wants to say it out loud, but old minds equal old methods. If we want to pivot fast, we cut the slow ones loose. Phase out anyone over 55. Tactfully, of course." There it was. Intent. In his own voice. The case exploded overnight. Articles. Headlines. Hashtags. Hashtag Grey is Gold. Hashtag Justice for Bruce. Hashtag Age is not a flaw. Ryan tried to do damage control, but it was too late. Clients began pulling out. A few of Kellbridge's top contracts were put under review. But I wasn't celebrating. Not yet. Because I knew Ryan. And I knew he wouldn't go down without trying to drag someone with him. I was right. The following week, I received a certified letter. Kellbridge was accusing me of unauthorized possession of proprietary documents, a last-ditch effort to claim I had violated confidentiality by holding onto old files and process manuals. Petty. Desperate. But potentially dangerous. If it stuck, they could frame me as the villain. But what Ryan didn't know was that I'd already anticipated this too. The files I had. They were never marked proprietary. They were my own handwritten notes, process charts I'd created on my personal time. Not a single one belonged to the company legally. Reggie responded with a blistering counterclaim. "This is textbook retaliation. And we welcome the escalation, it only strengthens our original complaint." That was the final blow. Even Kellbridge's board began to question what the hell was going on. Then, just when I thought the pressure might break him, Ryan made his fatal mistake. He called one of the other plaintiffs, Donnie Jacobs, after hours. From a private number. Trying to offer him hush money. Donnie, bless him, recorded the call. "Ryan. Look, if you drop out now, we can talk numbers. I can make this go away clean. You'll be comfortable for life, Donnie. Just, don't make this into something it's not." Donnie didn't say a word. Just sent the recording straight to Reggie. When Reggie played that clip during our deposition prep, he chuckled and said, "This guy might have just sued himself into extinction." The legal gears began turning faster than any of us expected. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, launched an inquiry. Ryan was suspended, pending internal review. And Daniel Kessler, the man I had worked beside for almost 3 decades, finally called me. "Bruce," he said, voice weary, "is there any way we can settle this quietly?" I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. He still didn't get it. "It stopped being quiet the moment your nephew humiliated good men and women in front of security guards," I replied. "You had your chance to stop this. You chose him." Daniel didn't argue. He just sighed and said, "This company was supposed to be my legacy. Not this." "No, Daniel," I said quietly. "It was supposed to be our legacy." He hung up. And I knew, this wasn't just a lawsuit anymore. This was the reckoning Kellbridge tried to avoid. This was personal. 3 days after Daniel's phone call, something unexpected happened. A woman named Layla Martin reached out to Reggie's office. She said she worked in Kellbridge's procurement division, and she had something to share. What she brought wasn't just another nail in the coffin. It was a grenade. Layla had access to internal audit reports, and uncovered that Ryan had been quietly funneling procurement contracts to a consulting firm registered under his former roommate's name. The firm didn't do real work. It just billed Kellbridge, and collected payments. Over $180,000 in 6 months. Reggie's jaw dropped when he saw the documents. "Bruce," he said, "this just went from an age discrimination suit, to corporate fraud. That changed everything." The press latched onto it like wildfire. Kellbridge VP faces allegations of financial misconduct amid discrimination lawsuit. Whistleblower exposes secret payout scheme inside Kellbridge. Age bias was just the start, insiders claim deeper corruption. The EEOC accelerated their inquiry. Then the Department of Labor got involved. Then the IRS. And suddenly, Ryan wasn't giving smug interviews anymore. He was issuing frantic denials and ducking reporters. But the real twist? It didn't come from Ryan. It came from Daniel Kessler himself. The same man who once called me his most trusted right hand. The man who let his nephew destroy my reputation. He showed up at my house. Gray slacks. Wrinkled shirt. No driver. I stood on the porch in my flannel jacket, arms folded across my chest. "Daniel," I said flatly. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "I made a mistake, Bruce," he said quietly. "I thought bringing Ryan in would give me peace of mind as I planned my retirement. But I see now, he saw this company as a toy. A ladder. He saw us as obstacles," I added. "And you let him?" Daniel nodded. "I did. And now the company's collapsing. Investors are pulling out. Our largest client just canceled a $12 million contract." He looked at me, eyes hollow. "I need your help." I didn't move. He went on, "I'm removing Ryan. I've already begun the paperwork. But if I'm going to save what's left, I need someone the staff still respects. Someone who knows how to lead." It took me a full 10 seconds to realize what he was saying. He was offering me my job back. No, not just my job. Control. "Bruce," he said, "I want you to come back. As Chief Operating Officer." I laughed. I actually laughed in his face. "Daniel, you let your nephew humiliate and fire me in front of half the staff. You backed him when he threw decades of experience in the trash. And now you want me to come fix it? Bruce, please. You built this company. You can still save it." I shook my head slowly. "You're not asking me to save the company, Daniel. You're asking me to save your legacy." Silence stretched between us. Then I said the words that sealed his fate. "Tell your lawyers to contact Reggie. We're not done." He left without saying another word. 2 days later, the board forced Ryan to resign. No press release. No golden parachute. Just a quiet internal memo confirming he was no longer with the company. That would have been a satisfying ending on its own. But fate had other plans. Reggie called me on a Monday morning. "You're gonna want to sit down for this." "What is it?" "The Department of Justice just opened a criminal investigation. Fraud. Wire transfer abuse. Tax evasion. And get this, Layla gave them access to emails showing Ryan bragging about burning the old wood to start fresh." That was it. The words that had started as a metaphor for age bias were now evidence in a criminal indictment. Ryan Kessler was arrested 2 weeks later at his luxury apartment in Chicago. He looked stunned in the mugshot. Like the world had suddenly become unfair to him. He made bail, but his name was ruined. No firm would touch him. His MBA was meaningless. His fresh energy had turned radioactive. Daniel tried to delay the inevitable, but it was too late. The board ousted him 3 months later. Kellbridge Manufacturing was sold to a competitor. The name stripped. The assets liquidated. The company I gave my life to, gone. It hurt. I won't lie. But watching the people who tried to erase me get erased themselves. That felt like justice. Poetic. Personal. Permanent. 6 months after Ryan's arrest, the settlement came through. Every one of us, the 9 original plaintiffs, received full back pay, damages for emotional distress, and public acknowledgement of wrongful termination from what remained of Kellbridge's legal team. The court called it a landmark case in age discrimination and workplace retaliation. But to me, it was simpler than that. It was about being seen again. It was about being heard, loud and clear, after being told we were obsolete. I didn't return to the corporate world. I didn't need to. The settlement, while generous, wasn't what gave me peace. It was knowing that for once, the people who played God with our lives had to answer to someone. Ryan's trial proceeded that fall. Fraud. Conspiracy. Tax evasion. The court found him guilty on 3 counts. He wept like a child when the sentence came down. 4 years in federal prison. No parole. Turns out, nepotism can't protect you from the law. Daniel Kessler faded into obscurity. Retired quietly to Florida, stripped of board voting rights. The legacy he tried to build now a cautionary tale in every HR workshop about what happens when you let ambition blind you to ethics. As for me, I bought a small house out by the lake. Grace and I spend quiet mornings drinking coffee on the porch. Sometimes I fish. Sometimes I build things in the shed. And sometimes I just sit, remembering what it felt like to walk out of that building with a box in my hands and a storm in my chest. The younger workers, some of them reached out. They said thank you. Turns out, they hated what Ryan was doing too. They just didn't have the power to stop it. But we did. We weren't tired old men. We were seasoned fighters who finally decided to push back. The world is quick to praise fresh energy. But fresh energy without wisdom is like a car with no steering wheel. It goes fast, sure. But it crashes just as hard. And we were the crash. The necessary correction. The reckoning. In the end, truth has a way of surfacing, even if it comes twisted through pain and betrayal. As one wise voice once said, sometimes your greatest enemy was once your closest ally. If this story struck a chord with you, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and spread the word, because justice deserves to be heard.